Okay, this is the answer key for lesson 8.6 worksheet number 2. Okay. All right, so again, we have a trinomial with a number out front. So we're going to go ahead and start our list. 1 times 5, 1 times 7. Now, since this is negative, we know we need a positive negative to get a negative 7. And since those are different signs, that means we need to subtract to get to that middle negative 2. So if I look right here right off the bat, I've got a 7 and a 5. Okay, so when I'm doing my inside outsides, I get 7, 5. I want the 7 to be negative to get that negative 2. Okay, so my combination here, I've got 1m and 5m. On the back side, I have 1 and 7. All right, and then we know that we want this guy to be negative and this guy to be positive, and that's your answer. Keeping in mind, you can FOIL to check any of these. Okay, so on this one, it's all positive, so we know we're going to be doing all positives with addition. So I've got 1 times 5, 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, and 4 times 6. All right, so now I'm looking for 26. So again, just start your inside outsides. This would be 24 and 5. That's not going to work, okay? So then I'm going to kind of jump down here a little bit. I'm going to do 1 times 6 is 6. 5 times 4 is 20. And that will get me 26 when I add it up. So my front here will be a 1a, 5a. Again, we know it's all addition. And then on the back side here, I have a 4 and a 6. And keep in mind, you can FOIL to make sure they're right. Okay, so on this guy, all right, we have a negative 5. So I know that I'm going to need a positive negative again, which is subtraction. Okay, so I've got 1 times 4, 2 times 2, 1 times 5. Okay, so I'm kind of running through inside outsides. I'm not finding anything that works. So again, I'm going to flip. I'm going to make this 4 times 1. And then technically 2 times 2 we've already checked, so I'm not going to worry about that. So here 4 times 5 is 20. 1 times 1 is 1. And since we're going to subtract, I'm going to make that guy the negative to get positive 19 there. Okay, so I've got a 4, 1. So 4u, 1u. I have a 1, 5. Now I want my 20 to be positive, and I want my 1 to be negative. And there's your answer. Oh, you know what I forgot? I forgot the variables on the backside, so don't forget about your v's on the backside there. Okay, I'm starting my list again. Again, this is a negative, so I need a positive negative, which is going to be subtraction. And remember that this is a 1 in front. There's always a 1 in front of all of our variables. So I've got 1 times 10, 2 times 5, and 1 times 2. Okay, so if I look here, 2 times 2 is 4, 5 times 1 is 5. If I make this guy negative, that will get me the positive 1 that I'm looking for here. So my front numbers are 2k and 5k. My back numbers are 1 and 2. Okay, and we know we want the 4 to be negative, and we want the inside 5 to be positive. And that's my answer. Okay, on this one, I've got, let's see, 1 times 3, 1 times 32, 2 times 16, 3 won't go, 4 times 8, 5 won't go, 6 won't go, okay, 7 won't go. Okay, so we're just looking for, this would be a negative negative, so it's going to be addition to get to that 28 in the middle. Okay, I'm not seeing anything that works here, so I'm going to go ahead and flip and do 3, 1. So 3 times 8 would be 24. 1 times 4 would be 4. So yeah, if I make both those negative, that gets me negative 28 in the middle. So my front combo will be 3b and 1b. My back combo will be 4 and 8. And then I know I need both of them to be negative. Okay, again, you can FOIL to double check that your answer is correct. Okay, so on this one, I kind of see some square roots going on again, so I'm going to go try that first, and I'm going to look at 8 times 8 and 3 times 3 and just see if those work. So if I look here, I've got 24, 24, yep, those work, so I'm going to go ahead and just pull those without making a big long list here. So I've got 8x and 8x, all positive, so positive, 3, and 3. Now keep in mind that you may also see this written as 8x plus 3 squared, just telling you, right? The square just means write it out twice, which is what we've done here. So either one of these answers would be correct. Okay, backside again is review. So on this first one here, it's kind of a hot mess. It doesn't follow a nice, pretty quadratic pattern. So we're just going to pull a GCF and move on. So on this one, I can pull out a 5. And then x4, x squared. That means I can pull out 2 x's. Now y, but there's no y on this one, so I can't pull a y out. So 25 divided by 5 is 5. I pulled out 2 x's, so I have 2 left over along with the y. Minus 5 divided by 5 would be 1. I don't care if you put the 1 there or not. The x squared pops out. The y is left there. Negative 25 divided by 5 would be negative 5. And both x squareds come out. So this is what we're left with. Okay, again, this doesn't follow a nice, pretty quadratic pattern. You've got all kinds of craziness here. So this is it. All you can do is pull GCF, move on. All right, so 4-term grouping. First off, we are looking for GCF. I don't see a GCF though. So I'm going to go ahead and group. And I'm going to pull out a 5r squared and get 7r minus 3. On this next one here, I'm going to pull out a 4 and get 7r minus 3. So I get 5r squared plus 4 and 7r minus 3 when I do my rewrite. Okay, so on this, still sticking with the GCF theme, I see GCF of k. So I'm going to pull a k out and get k minus 2 left. Again, I have an exponent of 1. I'm done. I also cannot square root this 2. So that's my answer right there. Okay, so on this one, we're looking for factors of negative 27 that get us 6. So 3 times 9 kind of pops in right away. And then let's make that a negative. So now when I multiply, I get a negative 3. But when I add them, that gets me to the 6. So I have x minus 3 and x plus 9. Okay. Whoa, I have no idea how I just did that. All right, here we go. So on this one, I get a squared minus 12a plus 32. So 4 and 8 kind of pop in, and if I make both of them negative, when I multiply, that gets me a negative 32, or sorry, positive 32. But when I add them, that gets me a negative 12. So I'm going to have a minus 4 and a minus 8 are my answers. Okay, now again, always looking for a GCF first. I'm going to pull out a 3 first on this one and get u squared plus 10uv plus 9v squared. Now it's all positives, so 1 times 9 would add up to a 10, and when I multiply it gets me a 9, so that's looking good. Keep your GCF of 3 out front. U squared is going to break down to u and u. We already know it's all positives, and then your answers are 1, 9, and then don't forget about the v's on the back side there. Okay, I don't see a GCF here, but it is a two-parter or a binomial. So can I square root? Yes. Do I have subtraction? Yes. And can I square root? Yes. So this again is a difference of squares or DOS. So I get 3b minus 4 and 3b plus 4. Okay, so on this one, I'm going to pull out a difference of squares of a 3, and I'm going to get 25x squared minus 1. Okay, so now I'm looking, can I square root? Yep. Do I have subtraction? Yep. And can I square root? And so if that's the case, let's go ahead and pull a 3 out. We get 5x minus 1 and 5x plus 1, since this is a difference of squares. And that right there is your final answer. All right, that concludes this answer key.